Hello,
Hi,
welcome
ladies.
back. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another event from Keep Indiana Learning. We are Keep Indiana Learning digital learning coaches, and today's session is part of our Survivor series for educators. Today's topic is a good one. It's navigating summer professional learning. Especially our conferences that we have coming up. We always have such a good lineup here in Indiana. My name is Melissa Wally, and I am the Ed Tech Specialist and Technology Coach from Hanover Community School Corporation. I've been in education for almost 25 years now.
Yay. Hi, everyone. I'm Amy Stevens. I am the Project Lead the Way launch teacher for grades K through 5 at Tri Elementary in South Henry School Corporation. I'm also the Tech Integration Specialist for our staff, along with a Keep Indiana Learning digital learning coach with yours truly here, Julia and Melissa. This is such a joy to be able to talk about not just the word summer. I almost kind of want to sing it Olaf style, but like professional development. So this will be so much fun. Julia?
So I'm Julia Crone, and I'm from Plainfield, Indiana, so Plainfield Community Schools, and I'm our Tech Integration Specialist. And I'm actually planning our own Summer of Learning conference in Plainfield. We're not opening it to the public yet. It's our first year. It's our inaugural year. But I just got information back yesterday that a grant that I wrote just went through. Maybe that should be another thing sometime as well too, of summer learning planning for tech integration specialists who do that. So every teacher is going to get a plant that's Grow With Me. Actually, I don't want to give away too much in case any Plainfield people are watching, but it's going to be awesome. And we just sent out proposals to have our staff present as well on what they're fantastic at. And I'm getting some different ed tech swag. So I'm reaching out to them. So I'm excited about that. It won't be one that we talk about today for planning, but it's definitely on my heart and mind while we are talking about this today.
This is incredible. I love this. Oh my goodness. That's going to be a unique angle that I really hope for the three of us to be able to bring to this conversation this afternoon or today. Many of us have been in education for so many years that we've either attended or we have been part of a planning or we've presented. So we've seen many different angles that a conference or professional learning can provide, whether it's in-house, whether you have to drive a little bit, whether it's overnight, right? And so, here we go. A conference is on the table, and one of two things happened, right? You were either told, you were voluntold you had to go, or see, Melissa, you're laughing. You're like, been there. Or you were like, this is a non-negotiable. I cannot miss this. I am passionate about this. I want to know more about this, right? And so personal goals really can drive that intention, that motivation, that spark for attending a professional development or conference type get together, right? So maybe it is what you're currently teaching. Maybe it is something that piques your interest. You've always wanted to know more about it. Maybe it is a general topic of just good teaching, best practices, right? I just returned from a conference, and it was one of the first conferences in a long time that was about the whole child, not just specifically reading or specifically math or specifically technology. And it was just truly a lovely view, a lovely vantage point for me to come at after really not having attended a conference in quite some time. And so when you are getting ready to, inhale and exhale and see that we welcome you email or congratulations or in preparation for your time with us, really stop and take a deep breath and channel those personal goals. And then as you align them with your professional goals, let that spark, let that energy just continue to rise until that day where you pull in and give your name at registration.
Right. You said a couple of things there that resonated with me. One of them was about how you you get those emails and they sometimes we tend to push those off to the side. I'll read that later, like what you should do when you arrive or in preparation for. But I think that is so important. Like preparing for the conference is important, getting ready is important, knowing what you're coming to is important. I think all of those things help it be successful. And some of that is an obligation. Your district, your school is paying money for you to attend. And so you do have that obligation for you to get the most that you can, but also professionally and personally, you want to get the most that you can out of these experiences. And so just like coming with the right mindset and coming with the right materials, all of those things are important for you. And professional learning is so different for every attendee. We get to choose our own sessions. We get to choose what we get out of it. And so I know for myself, I have to feel prepared when I attend. And it starts with my technology, like my setup. I remember when I used to go to conferences and I used to go get like my new notebook and my new pens and my highlighters. All of that is out the window now. All I need is my laptop or my iPad and my phone. And really, I wouldn't even really need my phone, except sometimes they have a QR code or I want to snap a quick picture and it's just easier. But those are the things I need. So I always have everything charging the night before, and then I bring the charging cables just in case in my vehicle, in case something dies, even though it probably won't. I have to have that backup. And so that's the first thing that I have to be ready. And then the next thing is like having in my mind, what kind of organizational structure do I want to take my notes? And so like a Google Drive folder. But that really isn't enough for me because sometimes presenters will share like their presentations with you and you can just drop it in your folder. But then you also want to be taking notes. So I usually just start with like a blank doc and just like a brain dump. As I go to sessions, I just continue on that one doc and then I'll take care of the organization later in that drive. Because for me, that makes sense. Like when I think back, like okay, I attended this session. Where was that? It was at that conference. I can find it. But whatever your personal style is, you're going to want to have it ready to go prior to your first session beginning. Otherwise, here you are, you're trying to organize it. They've already started it. They give the link for their sessions and then they move on and you're like, wait a minute, I wasn't ready. So that's part of it. Now, the other part of preparation, bring a water, bring a snack, because otherwise you're going to be looking for those things. And if you physically aren't feeling good, you're not going to be in the right mindset. But that's also really important for big conferences. If you've ever been to a very large conference, you go to buy water and they're like $7. You don't want to do that. So just prepare in those two ways and you'll be good to go.
Melissa, I love that you said bring your M&Ms, your mindset and your materials.
Oh, I love that. That's good.
Really good.
I actually feel personally attacked. I'm the person who's going, excuse me, as I'm trying to find where to plug in my Chromebook so I can access the materials. And I'm walking in late because I couldn't find the place. I am scrolling on my phone at 10:30 at night, the night before this session, because Lord knows it's on a Thursday, but I had to go to school all that week and I had to pack my kids' baseball bag and their lunches and do everything else. I'm like, what time do I need to be here? I was at FETC and in Florida last year, not in New Orleans this year. I would have loved to have been there, but and I didn't realize how spread everything out was. And whenever I was like, oh, I was just looking at the sessions, I'm like, oh, this is great. And right before, like when a session would end, I'd be like, oh, where am I going next? I'm like, oh, I'm not even going to be in Florida. I'm going to be back in Indiana for the next one. Like I've got to walk 16 miles back and forth in the snow. So preparation is good. But people like me feel personally attacked by things like that.
I've been there.
So don't be like me. Map out your sessions, plan for your day and know what you want to do. And keep in mind that like, I actually think with that of making your plan for the day, plan a little brain break as well whenever that comes into there. Time for yourself to digest, because I will be in a session. I remember being at FETC. That was the most recent, like, in-person big one that I've been to. I've been a couple other PDs since then, but I was sitting there and just getting fed full of knowledge. And then all of a sudden, that the presenter's still going, and I got overwhelmed because I was like, oh, I've got to tell this person about it. And then they do something else. I'm like, that next person needs to know about that. And I'm like, I need to know about that. So I'm like looking and Googling and trying to save. And then I ended up, by the end of that session, I was like, it was just googly gook inside of there. And I needed time to unpack, but instead I think I went straight to the next session. And I never gave myself time to unpack. So map out your sessions, but also give yourself a little bit of time to unpack in between the sessions. And then also be prepared, because like I said, there was once or twice where I was trying to get to a session and I'm like, I'm going to be 15 minutes late. I won't have the QR code because they show that in the first 2 seconds. So then I had to have an alternative plan. Well, what's next to me? What else was I interested in? And then I can move forward. So I kind of go through with my highlighter on there, or maybe I would if I was Melissa, and I would highlight my green, like go, my yellow as in like interested, and then maybe my orange is like my third pick on some of the time. So if I was Melissa, but I'm Julia, so I'll just
I love it.
looking at my phone, trying to figure it out and trying to find a charger for it. So
I love it. I think FETC was a conference I went to where I successfully got like 10,000 steps in every day. And keep in mind, you're sitting while you're learning. Like, that's how much walking you're doing.
100%.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to, continue that conversation, Julia, because you're right. Like, when you're planning for that conference and it's just you have to have that plan. Like, what is your top of mind? What you're like, okay, yep, this would be interesting. And then what you're like, if I have to. But let's say you're going with a team. And if you're going with a team, you oftentimes are like, oh, that would be so amazing. We could sit together, we could take notes together. And plus, it's just fun to have a buddy, right? But when you think about maximizing the learning that's being brought back to most likely your staff, what is best practice for the staff? And so take a look at the schedule, and maybe during a block of time, maybe it's concurrent sessions, which are all sessions that are happening, at the same time for the same amount of time. Those might be best if you spread yourselves out. Not necessarily what maybe you want to learn, but what would be best to bring back to your staff. Mm-hmm. And sometimes there are sessions that it is best that you go together because you need that interaction. Maybe in the session description, it says, turn and talks, or, application time will be given. If that's the case, then, I highly recommend that you go with a teammate. And funny story about finding a session that was full. This actually happened at the most recent conference that I was at. I was, doing my thing, getting, my map out, getting to the room, and I hit that door and it was like every seat was full. And I was just like, there's so many people. And it was a little bit like, kind of took my breath away. Well, I immediately picked out a few familiar faces from the team of staff members that I was traveling with to this conference. And I immediately just thought, okay, even though this is a topic I really wanted to hear about, they got it. I trust them. And so I went next door. I didn't even know what the topic was. It was just the next best thing. And it was right there. There's like, 10 people in there. Oh my goodness, you guys. It ended up being like this intimate roundtable discussion with people from like the Department of Ed and like a superintendent. It was hilarious. They're like, and so you can introduce yourself. And I was like, hi, I'm Amy. I just walked in like I'm a teacher. It was so funny. And I had that might actually be my most favorite session from the conference. So sometimes it's best to divide and conquer. Sometimes it's best to, take a risk and just walk in a room. And sometimes it's going to be okay. Actually, all the time, it's going to be okay if you give yourself a break, or if you find that must attend, or that would be nice to attend, or this is my, my plan C to attend.
Right. Yeah, you're right. You never know, because I've been at conferences before where I had it planned out and I went to the session and it was canceled. Like something happened with the presenter, or, you never know, or it was full, or, some of the large conferences that does happen. They only allow so many people in the room. That's it. So you
Or it's
just have
not
to
what
have
you thought it was going to be about.
right.
That's happened before.
Yeah. Yeah. This isn't what I thought. Do I stay or do I go?
Yeah.
And go. It's okay. But I think back to what you were saying about a team, one of the benefits of attending with a team is that you can be in multiple places at one time, like you were saying. So with that, you can create a collaborative folder or like a document and just have everyone link in their notes. And that way you can look back and see, okay, this is what Amy attended. I need to touch base with her and maybe she can tell me more. We can get together, because you can almost like clone yourself in that manner, so that you're still getting all of that information and the presentations, which is always so beneficial. I feel like that it almost seems like the last several years that's become more popular, where presenters are just more willing to just share their links. And I think that is a kind thing and just a beneficial thing for everyone. And I think just the collaborative doc is just helpful. I can't remember what conference it was, maybe it was HEC, I don't remember, but my district and another district, we both got together and we just made like a file dump and we put it all in there and we had this huge collaboration by the end.
Oh, that's
awesome.
That's
yeah,
cool.
You can't be everywhere at one time, and it helps relieve that FOMO. Like, I can't decide what to do. So you have to make choices and miss out on sessions and presenters, but it does help.
Oh, I love that. That's powerful. I can look through a Google slide and get some stuff, and I love that. So speaking of FOMO, though, something that I didn't realize until you just brought up HEC, I was really bad about going to see exhibitors, and I was bad at FETC as well. And then like the first 3 days, and then the last day I went in there. And I went with a person who wasn't afraid to go up to the vendors. I don't know why I was like, it's not that I was afraid. It's that I was like, I don't want to get stuck in a conversation that I can't get out of, because I am one of those people that will just keep talking to you and will continue the small talk, and we'll just be in this loop where you don't want to be the rude person to just walk away. So I sometimes avoided going to vendors because I didn't want to get stuck in that loop. And then I realized how much I missed out, because especially on that last day, they want to give you everything. I walked out, I have over 300 teachers in my district. I walked out with almost 400 stickers from Edpuzzle one time. You can get like little swords. Then I was like, you know what? I'll take that football. You know what? I will take that Triceratops book as well too for my own child. And so I started just like picking out things for friends. And then once I come back from conferences, I can give those out. So even if I don't necessarily want them, I can give those out to others. And then you can also make connections there as well too. And there have been a couple times that I'm like, oh, I actually ran into a company that was talking about this. Like, I didn't even know we were in the market, but I'm like, I go through my swag bag and I'm like, I have a sticker and it has a phone number on it. Let's call them. And so, you can get information that way, or even get freebies. And then they also can give out like sometimes like free resources and free access to their platforms. So go see the vendors, go see the exhibitors.
Yeah, the swag is so fun. Teachers love a good pen and notebook and stress ball. And I really think what's fun is when you've been working with a rep or a trainer online, and then you get to go to the exhibit hall and you get to see them in person. It's like you're meeting this long lost friend that you like, your pen pal, and then it's like, oh my gosh, this is you in person. I love that happened. It was like I'd been interacting virtually, and then I got to see somebody and we had to take a picture. It was just fun. But on that thought, as you meet people and interact with presenters and even just people that you meet at the conference. This is how I've made some of my good tech friends. Find them on social media, add them, follow them, find them on LinkedIn. And that's how you expand your PLN, because the EdTech circle is not very big. And so you're going to repeatedly see the same people virtually and face to face when you attend conferences and sessions and all these things. So you might as well get to know them. And all of these people will help you. So conferences usually have a hashtag dedicated to the conference too. So interact with that as well.
I love that. I love the connections. Some of the best connections I've made. And then I've made connections that I've connected with other people as well too. So I think that that's really powerful. And you're so right. You get to start seeing friends, and I love that. So the next thing I'm going to say is that try some new sessions. I have recently found, and this isn't like any kind of a humble brag, but I've gone into some sessions before where I knew about the product, or I knew about the ed tech, or I knew kind of about the thought. And then when I went in there, it wasn't anything new. And so that's where I'm like, I'm not saying it's humble brag that I know a bunch of things, but instead of going to things that I know, I have found that it's more beneficial for me to take a little bit more of a calculated risk and go on to the new frontier and learn about things that I have never heard about. And I might get in there and there might be things that are a little bit over my head, but I just keep taking notes, and little by little, I can piece together this new ideas and things that like I said, those new frontiers. Because if we're not learning new things, then we're starting to stagnate, right? So go out of your comfort zone and don't just go to the things that you know. Go to the things that you've never heard of. Don't even go to the things that, like, if you know your neighbor knows how to do something, don't go to that either. Because sometimes I'm like, I recently tried to go to one on creativity. Well, I'm very passionate about creativity. I went in there and I was like, oh, that's, I've had all that up there, and it did reignite the passion, meaning that sometimes we do need those snapses to go. But I think that looking back, my time would have been better spent on something that I had no idea about.
I love that. Do you guys remember the GAFE Summit, the Google Apps for Education Summit that was in, I guess it was Franklin, I think? I'll never forget. I was like baby on the ed tech block. And I walked in and went to, like, everything was beginner because they had it leveled. All their sessions were leveled, like beginner, intermediate, advanced. And I, built up some confidence. And then, like, day two, or I think it was day two, I think it was the last session, I walked into an advanced Google Sheets. And I was like, oh my goodness gracious. There was so much that was happening that, at that point in my life, I was like, oh my gosh, this is eye-opening, mind-blowing, overwhelming, all at the same time. But I'll share with you, it was so amazing because it gave me that big picture, kind of like as a teacher, when you loop grade levels and you go to the next level up and you do that, and then you come back and you're like, listen, y'all, I know where you're going. Like, I've been there, so it's kind of fun. And I'm not saying that like 45 minutes was enough to, like, be an expert in advanced Google Sheets. But at that point in my life, it gave me a little bit more of, like, the where I could go or where I could be going, or the path I was on, that I was like, ooh, now I kind of see things a little bit clearly. So yes, absolutely. Like, try new things. And so with that said, we've talked about going, we've talked about collecting, documentation, presentations, swag. Make time when you are there. Maybe even do this ahead of time. Like, maybe if you're, a calendar person that loves to pre-schedule time, but schedule time for yourself to reflect on what's happening. Definitely throughout the conference, definitely after. There is going to be so much excitement and stimulation, I think might be the best way to put it. Don't you guys think? Like, there's music playing, there's loud voices, there's slideshows, there's interaction, there's coffee, there's all kinds of things. But, make time for yourself to self-reflect on what's happening. And then if you do have that chance to go with a group of staff members or a team, definitely schedule time upon return to digest what just happened and make a plan for how to share the learning. Because ultimately, whatever or whomever spent the money for you to be there did that with the intention of learning to be maximized or spread much past your amazing brain, right? Your brain was there to be able to take it in, to process, to, to just enjoy and add, the Steven spin or the Crone spin or the, like the Wally spin to it, so that when you bring it back, it's there and it's in a language that your staff can interpret or understand. I saw the best video. It was at a conference I was recently at where they were talking about this topic. They're like, how do you bring information home? And how do you share it? How do you speak the language to make someone who's not been there, who didn't see what you saw, who didn't hear what you heard, actually understand what you saw and what you heard, right? Mm-hmm. And they showed this Taylor Swift video, and it was like, Taylor's like jamming, and then all of a sudden it's like, it cuts to a goat like bleeding like in the middle of her song, and it's like, it's falling, and it's like, ah! And it's like, that's how you're coming across sometimes when you're talking to people that have no idea what you're talking about. In your head, the song is clear, the lyrics are clear, everything is great, but to somebody listening, you might be sounding like a singing goat. I don't know. It made me laugh because I was like, that visual right there just put it in perspective, how sometimes I've come back and I've been just revved up about this topic. I'm so excited. Everything's great. My enthusiasm's there, but my clarity and my words in the image that I paint of what I got to experience didn't necessarily come through as clear as I thought. And sometimes it does, but I've always loved to make that point, because it's a thing. It can happen. We don't all share the same exact brain. And then with that said, sometimes you get so much at conferences and you're like, oh, how am I going to implement all of this like tomorrow? Because that's how I'm feeling I need to do, like just think about the next best thing or the one thing, and use your team or use your conference buddy to sort of strategize. Like, what is something that is doable in the near future, sooner than later, that I can implement? And, it's going to be, I don't know, just a really great way of saying, like, I took things back, I digested, I reflected, and now I'm going to be a doer. I'm going to do this.
I love that. I love that one thing at a time too. I actually told a friend today, I have something after school every single day for the next 14 days. And so I was like, one day at a time. So in those conferences, what you've got to just pick one thing at a time, because I get a little frozen. I can get put in cement when I get too excited or I get too overstimulated, where I have so much knowledge that I'm like, I've just got to go to bed. Like I've got to do, it's hard to act on things like that. So unpacking is really important.
I think conference fatigue.
Yeah. Yes. No, it is. So I think this is the last tip of conferences work. That is work. You're on work time, and you can check your email, but I can't tell you how many times I have been frozen or I have stopped everything I'm doing because I've opened an email and I have to do it right then because I'm afraid I'm going to forget. And I'm so bad. I say I'm going to just press unread, but instead I am no longer paying attention to the presentation. I am writing this email, I'm texting a person, I'm doing this, and I'm totally off task. And the point of me being at that conference is work related. Now, you do need to have an emergency, a contingency plan to get a hold of you in case work does need to do something, but do not open that email. Oh my God. And I do that all the time. Today, I was even just working with somebody and both of us were having a conversation. Okay, let's check this. And instead I'd need to go to my email to check for a particular quote. But then guess what? When I open my email, there's like XYZ. And then, he's like, are you taking care of that quote? I'm like, and I'm writing an email because I am afraid my brain went on to this next task. So do your best that you are on the clock. So part of you being at work is being at that conference. And you do, and my brain is most emails can take 24 hours, up to 24 hours to get information back. But you do need to let your people know that you will not be completely at your email, and there needs to be, like, if they need to text you, if they need something immediate. So if there's an emergency, text me. I will have my phone on me, but I'm going to try not to open my email.
Wow.
And our colleagues understand and respect those boundaries. Like, if I had someone tell me that, I'm like, you know what? Like, I won't even email. Like, I'll try to solve all the problems. Let your team know, or let those people know, or also understand that there is a 24-hour rule, I believe, whenever it comes to, I might have just made that up, but
No, you didn't. We've got that like 24 hours. Yeah.
yeah, let people know. So, unless you ladies had any other tips, I guess, what all did we talk about? Let me kind of go back through. And so you signed up. So now what? So making your plan ahead, making sure your tech's ready. Don't be like Julia Crone, be like Melissa. Map out your sessions and kind of have that contingency plan as well too. One at a time, divide and conquer. So if you go with a team, decide who is going where. Do collaborative notes. I'm going to try to be like Melissa on my next one, and I'm going to get partners, and we're just all going to throw in a collaborative Google Drive. I love that. Go to the expo hall and get you some swag, get you them stickers, get you those little swords, the little squishy balls. When you get stressed out, you get too much information, and you got to do that. Leverage social media to feel connected, to make sure you're expanding your personal learning network where you're meeting new people. Plan to attend the at least one presentation that is out of your comfort zone. That is a calculated risk to make sure you're expanding. Schedule a time on your calendar to self-reflect or reflect with your team, and also don't be a bleeding goat. And then don't overpromise to do things related to work at conference, because guess what? You're at work. So that also, don't feel guilty, soak it in. You are there to bring back that information to your crew.
Absolutely. So we mentioned a big word that starts with S, summer. It's coming. And that's when teachers, do have, I think, more flexibility is the best way I'm going to say that. Because I'm not going to say any word. Some people are like, oh, teachers have all the time during the summer. No, it's our choice. But summer is when we do have flexibility to attend more amazing opportunities for us to learn. And so one of our Keep Indiana Learning digital learning coaches, Nicole Nelson, put together this fantastic graphic that not only has the Summer of E-Learning conferences at the top, but just a really great organizational strategy that she was like, you know what? I think I would like to have this if I were attending. And then Julia and Melissa and I were like, yes. So we wanted to make sure that we lifted that up. Keep Indiana Learning is doing great work. And sometimes we are not able to be there in person. And that's why it's amazing to be virtually different. And so I know I'll be there presenting virtually for Keep Indiana Learning for the Virtually Different Conference. Julia, Melissa, are you guys able to present or volunteer for this summer's Virtually Different Conference?
I am not, but I will be. Well, I'm not presenting, but I will be attending.
Yay! I love that.
I had to work those schedules. I'm actually going to be on a retreat with my admin team. However, I did just send 24 of my teachers their contact in, because they are going to get to go to the Virtually Different conference. So I'm so excited to extend that to my staff.
That is amazing. I love it. And so we invite you to take in all of the just free, paid swag, right? Virtual, in person, maybe take a road trip. Whatever it is that lights your fire, that's your spark. Go for it, and just enjoy. We've had a great school year of doing some Survivor series. Julia, I think one of my favorite ones was in October, we did Spooky Parents.
Yeah.
And then November, Surviving the Formal Observations. January, New Year, New Perspectives. February, the Teacher Burnout. March, the Post-Spring Break Discipline. Oh, my word and honor. I am heeding our own advice right now. And then, of course, right now, navigating professional development at conference. Stay tuned to know what might be coming up here soon in May from our team. And as always, we are so incredibly thankful for your time, for tuning in. We would love for you to keep tuning in, like, subscribe our channel. Ladies, is there anything else that you'd like to share with our Keep Indiana Learning community?
I hope to see some of you at some of the Summer of Learning conferences.
Yes, come up and say hi.
We can connect. That's exactly what we should do. And you're like, Julia, Melissa, let's get on that Google Drive. Let's go, girls.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Thank you all so much. Ladies, I am so grateful for the conversation, the ideas, but most importantly, just the enthusiasm to lift our teachers up. You guys are amazing.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank
ladies.
you.
Yay, good night.
Good night.